Mr. Happy Living here, and I'm happy to be broadcasting from WITV7 in the beautiful Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina, USA. Hey friends, will you join me for a minute and imagine how fantastic you'd feel living the unique and distinct life you were put on this planet to live, doing work you love, with people you love, in places you love, and all the while creating something of real value to others. That's what I call a life of significance, and I can tell you it makes for a very happy life. And so can Laura Ingram. She's my guest star today, and she's here to share her unique and distinct journey to her life of significance. Hey, Laura, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me on.
Will you please get us started by telling us what you're doing these days to make your mark of significance on the world?
Yes, I'm executive director at Feed and See, which is a food security organization in Mooresville, North Carolina. And we focus primarily on all the aspects involved in feeding, educating, and connecting people in our community. So a lot of relationship building focused around food, as well as hot meals, groceries, and everything that it takes for a family to get back on their feet. And I love everything about what I do and where I do it. And I just feel really blessed to have the opportunity.
I'll try to give our audience a picture of that great, big, beautiful facility that you've just built.
Yeah, it is amazing. It is 26,000 square feet. And the most important part is not really the size of it, but the amount of love and care that went into designing it and making sure that it was a really beautiful, welcoming, dignified place for our community to come. So it doesn't feel anything like a typical soup kitchen or nonprofit or food pantry. It feels like a place that everybody would be excited to go, even people who aren't in need. And we do have a lot of beautiful spaces, a dining room for our whole community, a grocery, a warehouse so that we can store things, and then also have grass for the first time in many years. And we were able to plant a garden in the backyard. So it really feels, to me, it feels like life in abundance. And they feel very, very honored to be able to come here, and it makes them feel respected to come to the space.
Yeah, it's beautiful, folks. If you're in Mooresville, you got to go by and check it out. And then Laura, one more thing before we move on to mathematics. You've had about more than 25 years experience in social services and nonprofit. What drew you to that sector as a career?
I have always been a helper, I would say. It's just my natural personality. So I'm sure there's lots of people out there in the world who feel like everybody talks a lot around them and tends to open up. And I have just always been one of those people. Even when I was a child, I would sit down and end up hearing somebody's whole life story. I think a lot of that is about listening, honestly, talking less and listening more. And so I just have done that naturally my whole life. I'm really not a huge talker, honestly. I try to make what I say have significance as much as I can and not just talk to hear myself think or hear myself talk. So that's how I ended up choosing social work. And I'd spent many years in foster care and adoption and other areas of social work, but I will say that helping families with food security feels like the most basic need that every single human deserves. And so there's just nothing complicated about food to me. And I like the simplicity of it. I like that everybody deserves that and nobody needs to worry about judging somebody else's opinions. And we just all agree that everybody should be happy and healthy and well fed.
And with your basic needs, the most basic is food and water, right?
Right. Nobody can contest that. It's a mission that there would have to be something a little bit askew for you to believe that people should be hungry. So I do like how clear it is to everybody.
Yeah, and one more thing before we move on, because I was surprised how much, we live in pretty nice little Mooresville, North Carolina, kind of, upper class, middle class. I live on the lake, and I was surprised at the amount of food insecurity or hunger that exists right amongst us. So can you just give us 30 seconds or a minute on that?
Absolutely. So we are in an area where a lot of people have resources. We're very lucky to be in that type of area. So we do have people who can give, a lot of our donors and things like that also have resources and they can give. So we're lucky in that way. But Mooresville and a lot of other towns in America tend to have a very big discrepancy between people that have a lot of resources and people who have no resources. And there's honestly not much middle class left in Mooresville and areas like it. So it's not that people are middle class, it's that they're truly struggling. They can't make ends meet. The cost of rent is very, very high. And if you're paying $1,500 a month in rent, you cannot live on $10 an hour wages. So there's back to math. There's a math equation that just doesn't work there, no matter how hard you're working. And some of them are working 2 and 3 jobs, and the math still doesn't add up.
Yeah. Well, very good. All right. Speaking of math, let's do a little mathematics so our friends all around the world can get to know you through our happy formula. It's simple, but it's very powerful. It goes like this: power plus purpose equals happy. So let's start with power. What are your personal practices for building up the power you need to get things done, whether it's physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, emotionally? In other words, Laura, what do you do on a regular basis to create all the power you need to take really good care of yourself and your loved ones and still have plenty left over to be a giver to others?
Yes. I so wish I could give you a long list here. I definitely do focus on health. I've always been a person who cares about what I put in my body. So I do try to be very careful about the food that I eat. I'm not a vegetarian, but I do primarily focus on fruits and vegetables and live in a place on my property where we grow fruit and vegetables and try to stay surrounded with healthy choices most of the time. And I do walk quite a bit. I like to walk actually for fun. It's not really something that I see as exercise. And my children laugh because I always park as far away as I possibly can from wherever we're going. And just sort of small practices that are a part of your daily life and be choosing to make more steps in my day. This new building has been great for that too. I move a lot. So I do try, and make choices. I won't say that I'm lifting weights every single day at all at this stage in my life, but trying to stay active. I have very active teenagers who move a lot. So we tend to do things together and hike and go outside together a lot. So that's kind of the physical aspect. I do absolutely believe in the power of prayer and feel as though a lot of things that have gone right in my life and the organization and my family very much have to do with prayer. And I also really believe strongly that people praying over us has helped, for decades. And you don't even realize, when your in-laws or your parents or your grandparents are keeping you covered. And maybe you're at a stage in your life where you're not being quite as diligent as you should be, but somebody else is for you.
Nice. Yeah, and that spiritual component is not just as important as the other. It might be ultimately the most important, because one of the things with energy, physical, mental, financial energy is finite. You use it, you lose it, you got to replenish it. Spiritual energy, it's infinite. And so there's a lot of, when you're doing work you love as you are, there's a lot of energy that's created by that compensates for other types of, let's say, fitness training. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
So let's dive into my favorite power generating concept. Speaking of power, and ultimately what you're doing with providing food to people is giving them some power to make change. And so this concept is called a Kaizen state of mind. And it's this beautiful Japanese idea that small incremental improvements add up over time to yield great big results. And I love it because it's based on mindset, not circumstance. So Kaizening life is knowing there's always something that I can do better tomorrow than today. And it creates this optimistic, gentle, but powerful, continuous uplifting of my life day after day after day. So Laura, how does Kaizening your life help you increase your personal power to continuously become more so you can continuously give more?
Yes, absolutely. I feel like God has given me talents in certain areas, and this is one of them that I just don't. The words I use is that I don't tread water very well. It's just I need to get better all the time. It's just something in my personal life, and so I think it's the way that I lead an organization. And unfortunately, I think sometimes nonprofits don't look at it this way. Many entrepreneurs really do. It's an entrepreneurial spirit, I think, to want to be better and to take total ownership. And also, when you're an entrepreneur, it sort of does benefit you financially as well. But I think with nonprofits, people don't always see it that way. But although I'm a social worker, and what I love at the root of this work is the people, I actually really love being an entrepreneur, and it's just the spirit that I have. So every day when I come to this beautiful place, I think about how we can improve services to those that we serve. And so all the way from how do we do a better inventory system of the food that we have so that we know how much food we can give out every day. And at the end of the month, we don't run out of food. We're constantly thinking about how we can provide more accessible services. What kind of technology can we use in order to make it easier for them to schedule an appointment so that they don't have to call us on the phone? And so I really, again, I feel like a lot of the things that I believe in are not rocket science, to be honest. They're common sense, but I use a lot of business principles in a nonprofit world, and that's kind of rare. It's not the way people think usually. And so my team has been built with people who do not tread water well. I was just doing an interview yesterday, actually, for a new position in our warehouse, and it's not a leadership position. It's a person who would be working in our warehouse, and it doesn't matter who decides to join our team. That is always part of the conversation. Do you want to get better? Do you want to improve every day? And there's a lot of people who don't, and that's okay. Right. But they don't belong on our team because they would be tired. They would be frustrated. So I just tend to surround myself. It's one of my favorite things about leadership. I just tend to surround myself with people who want to improve, and then we all want to improve together, and then we push each other. I mean, a couple of my team members, if they haven't had a great idea that day, they're sad about not having a way to get better every single day.
And give me that's awesome, by the way. As a business guy, my whole life, I commend you. That's the way it all should be. It's not about making money. It's about creating currency. And your currency, a lot of your currency is food, but it's also services and all these things. So the fact that it doesn't flow right into your bank account, it's irrelevant. It's the same process. And the entrepreneur could make his gazillion dollars and give it all away. And same thing. So give me 30 seconds or so, or maybe a minute, on how the principle of Kaizen applies to how you bring your clients in and help them to first become stable and then to become more.
Absolutely. So okay, so we do multiple different types of services. So one is the grocery, which is, somebody would imagine it as meeting a need, an immediate need. And I equate it to someone who is drowning. This is my best explanation, is that if you're drowning, somebody stopping in that moment and teaching you how to swim doesn't make a lot of sense, because you cannot focus on learning to swim in that moment. You're going to need a life preserver, and you're going to need to get out of the water. And then once you're going to live, you could think about learning to swim. And so a lot of people will say things to me like, well, groceries don't change somebody's life. Well, no, they don't, but they get them out of the water. And then once I don't have to worry that my child is going to be starving tonight, I can then think about how I better our situation. How can I get a better job? How can I earn more income? How can I make for a more stable future for my family? But I can't worry about starvation while I'm doing that. So we solve an immediate need. And many times that comes in the form of hope to people. They see a smiling person who has love in their heart and food on the table, and they say, hallelujah, somebody cares that we're really, really struggling here. And when they feel that way, then they're willing to take the next step. And I would say that the Kaizen next step is, now we have a workforce development program. So once your family is stable, you are eating regularly, your health is back on track. Now I can think about the fact that I might like to be working in a restaurant someday. And so I could sign up for the culinary program. I might also become a volunteer because I feel like I could give back and I have enough strength to come in once a week and help. We have many, many people who we serve that also volunteer. They have a lot to give. And just because they happen to be in need doesn't mean that they can't also give back. So I hope that we solve an immediate crisis and then we give people the hope and the resources to be able to want more for themselves.
Yeah, that's great. Great. Okay, let's talk purpose. It's the second element of the happy formula. And Laura, I've observed that a lot of times the big major life transformations or discovery of purpose comes from devastation. Addiction, abuse, disease, death, disaster, something awful strips a life to its core, resulting in a great big unexpected change. However, in my book, Turning Inspiration into Action, I share the transformational process that I've used to discover my purpose using inspiration. So how about you, Laura? Was there a specific moment or event or crisis or inspiration that revealed to you the purpose you were meant to live?
Yes. It's definitely not a catastrophic moment. I would agree with you. That's kind of, I think, what a lot of people imagine, that everybody who wants to help others had some kind of, a catastrophic issue. I will say that throughout my life, I have had a lot of help. I've had people, wonderful, from the time I was a child, church members, grandparents, extended family, my parents, teachers, just wonderful humans who cared enough to help. And it could have been in a small way or a large way to kind of direct my path. I mean, even in college, I started out with a major in psychology and ended up with a major in social work. And there was somebody who cared enough to listen to me in order to help guide that path. So I think I would say, and now looking back, I don't know if any of the listeners have heard this, but there were some books a while back called When Helping Hurts. And it was kind of significant, actually, in the spiritual world, that a lot of churches read the book and talked about When Helping Hurts. And there's value in that book. Toxic Charity is the other one. And there's value in those books, but I actually feel like my philosophy is that helping usually helps. And so, that's how I feel like I landed where I am, is that helping someone usually helps. And I can't think of any time in my life, actually, that anybody helped me that it didn't help. And it could be as simple as holding a door open. It could be as significant as helping me through childbirth. But if somebody is helping you, it adds value. And I don't really feel like getting stuck on helping people too much is something that, I would want to waste energy on.
Yeah. Very good, Laura. Well, let's take a commercial break for our sponsor to spread a little love with our audience. I've had lots of experiences that have shaped the philosophy of my inspired life, but it's my mission to improve the happy of the world one person at a time that I'm most excited about, because it's my mission that can help you shape the philosophy of your inspired life. And I would love that. And I'd love you to be our next one person at a time. So go to happyliving.com, select eCourse, and let's get started. And we're back, and this is the Something Significant Show, and I'm your host, Matt Gersper. And my special guest star today is Laura Ingram. She's the executive director of Feed NC and is on a mission to create connections to food, education, and resources as a catalyst for change. Feed NC has served thousands of families across 4 counties by way of 8 innovative programs. Each of these 8 programs have been uniquely crafted to tackle many large-scale issues at the community level. At Feed NC, Laura and her team believe in rescuing food, rescuing good, healthy food that would otherwise have been wasted to provide community programs for families struggling to make ends meet. Every year, they rescue more than 1 million pounds of food. Wow, Laura, I love that. And I think you're going to love the article that I found on livescience.com. It's called The Science Behind the Power of Giving. And it says the act of giving itself can be a gateway to discovering your reason for being on the planet. It tells how science supports the idea that giving one's time and talents and treasures is a powerful pathway for discovering purpose and overcoming difficulties and finding fulfillment and meaning in life. So I updated my formula. Power plus purpose plus giving equals really happy. What do you think, Laura? Has giving your time and your talents and your treasures been a pathway for discovering your purpose and for getting past the difficulties that you've faced and for bringing real meaning into your life?
Absolutely. Yes. I think the formula is perfect, and including giving is absolutely perfect. I think my best example at this point in my life is during COVID, which COVID would be considered a traumatic event for most of us. I would say in the work that we do in food security, the day that the world shut down, there were a lot of organizations that were not sure if they were going to continue to stay open and to continue to feed people. And we made that decision in that day in March, and then we made it every day thereafter and never shut down one day. And I would say that example of that time, literally, we focused on other people all day, every day, similar to our folks in the medical field. And it was something about that time that just, it made, nobody enjoyed COVID, obviously, but it was a very positive, rewarding time in my life personally, and I think in the life of my team, because it felt like I was giving in that way.
It creates a cohesiveness, right? We're going to get this job done. It's like military, the corps that they form, or sports. You guys, it was an extra layer of cohesiveness that must have been very powerful for you.
Yes, and just not feeling sorry for yourself. A lot of people were sidelined working from home, and that's difficult. And so we were lucky enough in this traumatic event to be able to focus on other people and giving our time and talents. And I'm thankful that I had it during that time.
That's good. Yeah, very good. So science tells us that giving to others brings real meaning to our lives, and I completely agree. I love that feeling that comes from the 4th element of significance, doing work that creates value for others, because the magic of life comes not from getting more, but giving more. But there's something more to it than that, Laura. It's not just the giving that's magical. What I've discovered, it's really when you're giving from living in your purpose, that's where you find the real magic. So we'd like to experience how it makes you feel to be happily living your life and giving to others through the work you were put on this planet to do, and the take a notice. So Laura, just sit back for a moment, open your heart, and have a listen to what people are saying about the impact you're making on their lives by finding and living that magic in your life. A graduate from your culinary school said, yesterday was actually my very first ever graduation. She continued, when I had my daughter, I had to drop out of high school and I got my GED. So yesterday meant a lot to me. A graduate from the workforce development program says, this program has changed me for the better. I'm a lot happier. I got my drive back and I got my energy back. A member from your member advisory committee says, I'm a stakeholder in something that has helped me, and now I can help others by giving back with my knowledge and resources. And another said, in a time that was very difficult for me dealing with an ongoing health issue while refinancing my home, the Feed NC Food Movers program and Thanksgiving meal delivery filled me with such spirit and joy. It meant so much to me. I just want to reach out and say, I'm doing wonderful. I finally finished my home refi, and so now I can afford my own groceries again. I want to pay it forward sometime soon. Thank you for all you do. And with 2,500 people, 2,500 plus people having ongoing access to healthy food, and 100% of your graduates increasing their annual income, and $2.3 million saved annually by struggling families in your community, I'm sure there are many, many more voices are taking notice of the good work you and your team are doing at Feed NC. So Laura, what does all that mean? What does it mean to hear that impact that you're making of others by finding and living the magic of your purpose?
Yeah, it's a bit overwhelming, honestly, and it is really humbling because I just sort of feel like a person working really hard, doing the best that I can every day. And I think I do feel like it is the reason that I was put on the earth, aside from being a mother and being a wife and, other things that matter. But it does really matter to me. And I think that it seems like something simple, to treat somebody with respect or to give them the resources that they need or the food that they need, but it really does make a difference. And I know that at the end of every day, I know that what I do is helpful to a person or a family or a child or a community. So I never feel like my time is wasted, even if there are hard days, which there are in every field. It never feels like it was for naught. It always feels important. And I think my purpose really is not about the things that we do for people or what we give to people. It's the way that you leave people feeling. And I think that's important. They can get the groceries and go about their day, but if they feel that you care about them and they feel that they have value as a person, then it changes the rest of their day and the rest of their lives a lot of times.
Yeah. So you're using food scarcity as a tool for reaching your community with dignity and love.
Correct. Yeah.
And what love this part of the show, because when I collect the evidence of the impact created by purpose, it's generally much bigger than the guest realizes. And what I've discovered is when you're in your purpose, you're just being you, and there's nothing big deal about it. But it is a big deal, and it feels easier, as you said. Even your hard days are easier. And I want our audience to understand that if you haven't found your purpose, keep looking, because this is what it looks like. Yeah.
I appreciate it. It's very thoughtful to pull it all together, because you do forget, I'm sure, physicians forget, that they're saving lives every day too, when you're just going through your day.
Yep. And that's what this show is all about. It's finding that magic in each of our lives. And it's available for each of us. And it comes from this great big happy circle. Giving your time and talents and treasures is a powerful pathway for discovering your purpose. And giving from living in your purpose brings a profound joy to your life and to the lives of those around you too. So giving leads to purpose, and giving from purpose leads to joy. So to more properly capture the exponential power of the happy formula, even though you said it was perfect before, let me tweak it just a little bit more, Laura. Power times purpose times giving equals happy to the third power. And that's really, truly, deeply happy. Does that sound about right to you?
It does. Absolutely.
Very good. Okay, let's wrap things up with the lightning round. I love the power of words and the capacity for great quotes to change lives. So I'm going to read a few of my favorites and have you tell us what they mean to you. Give us the first thing that comes to your mind, Laura, because it's called a lightning round.
Okay.
So here we go. This is a little long one, so I'll try to read it carefully and just take it in and let us know what you think. This is from Naomi Long Madgett. I think Madgett. She says, I wouldn't coax the plant if I were you. Such watchful nurturing may do it harm. Let the soil rest from so much digging and wait until it's dry before you water it. The leaf is inclined to find its own direction. Give it a chance to seek the sunlight for itself. Much growth is stunted by too careful prodding, too eager tenderness. The things we love, we have to learn to leave alone.
Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, so that's definitely children is what it makes me think of. I dropped off an 18-year-old at college 2 days ago, so that's what it makes me think of. That you have to, you have to let children flourish and grow, and you don't need to guide every single move they make. And that's how we learn, and that's how we look for the light and find roots, is to leave them alone and let them have their own experiences. But a little bit in 2023, we have decided to hover a little too much over children.
Yeah. Okay, this is from 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 24. Let no one seek his own, but each one the other's well-being.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That quote makes me think of everything about being a helper in life. That if it isn't about you, you will hear what the greater good is. But if it's always about you and what your benefit is, or how you can be heard, or how you can be seen, then you miss the light as far as what you should be shining the light on. And a lot of times it is not on yourself. And I think some people worry that if they don't shine the light on themselves, that it will get missed. But my experience is that typically when you're shining the light on others, that is actually when people see the depth.
Yeah, that's right. That's good. This one's from Coretta Scott King, and it's similar, but it speaks to the entire community. She said, the greatness of a community is most accurately measured by the compassionate actions of its members.
Yes, I love that quote. Love it. I believe that compassion is the root of kindness, and you really have to have empathy for other people, even if it was not your lived experience. And I will say some people really struggle with empathy and being able to jump in somebody else's shoes when they don't understand it or they haven't lived in it. But having true compassion because you feel empathy, because you can imagine walking in somebody else's shoes, there's no way the community doesn't improve from that, because I imagine your struggles and I imagine how difficult it is for you. And I don't see any downside to that, to having more compassion for other people.
I can attest to having a hard time with empathy. It took me at least 50 years to get there. But I'm much happier now that I'm there. This one's from Rumi, and he said, if you put your heart against the earth with me in serving every creature, our beloved will enter you from our sacred realm, and we will be so happy.
That's interesting. It makes me think about, again, just being open, being open to hearing other people, being open to understanding other people's lives, being open to understanding how all of us interact with the environment and the world also, and how the big picture all comes together when we're all working together. and we all
Mm.
are open. You have an open heart, an open mind, an open spirit to different types of people. That's my favorite thing about our dining room, is that the intention of our dining room was to bring all kinds of different people together at the same table. And
Nice.
we're better together. We're better with all different kinds of open hearts coming together.
Very good. This is from John F. Kennedy. He says, one person can make a difference and everyone should try.
That is true. Absolutely true. I think you should not feel that you don't have anything to give, even if you have no formal training or no experience, because all you might have to give is a hug. And if giving somebody a hug is something that you have to offer, then you can try. But if you shut yourself off, I mean, we had an experience yesterday where I had a volunteer in our lobby, and another volunteer came in and was crying, and she just hugged her, and didn't know what was going on. And the woman left and said, my day is better. So
Yeah.
you can make a difference in one person's life with a really simple act.
My daughter Shay is a volunteer at your place.
Is
I
she-
learned that after I found you guys and set this up. It was kind of a nice surprise. Okay, this is the show anchor from Goth. He said, whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now.
I love that one. I need to put that one on my wall. I think, it makes me think about our capital campaign. Honestly, we set out in the middle of a pandemic to raise $7 million to build a new building. And I can't tell you the amount of times that people looked at me like I had 3 heads, and that was impossible. And there was no way we could do that. And I certainly had days that I had doubts, and I had to pray for strength and wisdom. But I just believed that we could do it. And we started. And a lot of times when you start, you will get there, but you just have to take one step at a time every day, and not give up. And I do use the strategy here that we fail quickly and we fail small. So we do try to pilot everything that we try, so that we don't fail on a massive level. And we failed a million times at different programs and trying things. But if you don't try, how will you ever move forward? So I hope that till the day I leave this earth, I hope that I'm willing to try something, because if not, you will just be a naysayer and nothing will ever happen. And this building wouldn't have risen if we didn't believe that it was possible.
Yes, ma'am. Keep doing it until the day you die. That's what life is meant to be. And I got a chance to give a motivational talk to a bunch of old folks in the retirement community. And it was fantastic. I thought, what can I tell these people? But there's always something. And if you get that in your mind that you're here, you're going to be doing it until they take you out in the box. It gives you time. It gives you motivation and encouragement. It's awesome. So I'm so happy to hear you say that. Okay, folks, now it's your chance to be a giver too. If you can hear my voice and you were inspired by today's show with Laura Ingram, won't you please share a little love with our fabulous broadcast team by giving what you can to WITV7. They're a 501c3 charity on a mission to educate, empower, and encourage. They do good works with your kindness. Laura, I love your mission to create connections for food, education, and resources as a catalyst for lifting your neighbors up and out of struggle. And I admire your dedication to creating healthy, stable families able to meet their own needs. And until they're able, they can readily call on outside resources for help. And I'm super happy that you've shared your caring and loving and hope-filled spirit on our show today. Would you please take a minute or two and share any parting remarks that you'd like to leave with our audience?
Thank you. I really appreciate you inviting me. This was super fun. I was a little intimidated, and I certainly don't think I'm an expert at anything, But I love learning and I love trying new things. So here I am, just one day at a time. And I really appreciate your philosophies. I'm going to look some more into it. I love the concept that you're focused on happiness and joy and bringing positivity into the world, because I think it makes a huge difference. So I appreciate you inviting me on.
It's my pleasure. And you were a rock star, intimidated or not. You were fantastic. So I also want to thank WITV7 for hosting and promoting our show so we can keep interviewing inspiring guest stars like Laura and reaching folks just like you, ready to create your own extraordinary lives. And most especially, thank you, viewers and listeners. You'll find links to websites and social media and all things Laura Ingram. Find her, friend her, apply for services if you need them, find ways to give back and donate if you're able. You can even purchase a fully customized brick paver that'll live and feed NC's courtyard. At Happy Living, we bought ours yesterday. Every brick goes towards paying off the final loan of the building. It's all at feednc.org. That's FEED, N for North, C for Carolina.org. One more time, feednc.org. From me to you, dear friends, I love you and I want you to be really, truly, deeply happy too. So go to happyliving.com right now and take our happy quiz, because measuring your happy helps you focus attention on it, and focusing attention on it inspires change and learning and improvement, all to flow right into your life. And once you take the quiz, and it only takes a minute, then please give some thought about what we can do together, you and me, to improve the happy of your world, one person at a time. Till next time, I'm Matt Gersper. You're awesome. And this is the Something Significant Show. And we're out.